Praise ye Yahweh, sing unto Yahweh. So praising Yahweh, singing to him, right? A new song. And his praise in the congregation of saints, Israelite. Let Israel rejoice in him that made him. Let the children of the remembered ones, the Zion one, be joyful in their king. Let them praise his name, Yahweh, and the dance. Let them sing. See, praise and sings in the same sentence. Sing praises unto him with the timbrel and the harp. For Yahweh taketh pleasure in his people, the Israelites. He will beautify the meek, we the meek, with salvation. He's going to save us, the elect. Salvation means to be saved from impending danger, right? Delivered from impending danger. Let the saints be joyful in glory. Let them sing or praise. Let them sing aloud upon thy beds. We're going to be getting up in the morning.
Psalm 149. Praise ye the Lord. Sing unto the Lord a new song, and his praise in the congregation of saints. Let Israel rejoice in him that made him. Let the children of Zion be joyful in their king. Let them praise his name in the dance. Let them sing praises unto him with the timbrel and harp. The Lord taketh pleasure in his people. He will beautify the meek with salvation. Let the saints be joyful in glory. Let them sing aloud upon their beds. Let the high praises of God be in their mouth, and a two-edged sword in their hand, to execute vengeance upon the heathen, and punishments upon the people, to bind their kings with chains and their nobles with fetters of iron. Upon them the judgment written, this honor have all his saints. Praise ye the Lord.
The elect are coming. The gods of the earth are coming.
All right, Shalom. First and foremost, I would like to give all praise and glory unto Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem, Rakakwadash, and double honors unto the apostles and the elders of GMS who rule well, teach well, being great examples to his younger brothers. And peace and blessings and salutation to the hopeful lake out there pushing his word and truth and in sincerity across the four winds. In the name of Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, pushing to get up out of here. Shalom to the hopeful leg, the believers, the listeners who have came back to the obedience of the scriptures through faith in Yahweh Bashim Shai. All right, and what I want to get into today, dealing with, the pure wickedness, that runs this earth, and a lot of people, even those that, claim that they're woke, okay, they might be privy, to a few particular things. All right, but they have no idea, the level of wickedness, all right, at the top, okay, of this kingdom. All right, because we know this kingdom, all right, is ran, all right, by people, okay, that you don't see. Okay, you have these 13, elite, banking families, okay, and they are the ruling class, okay, of this society at this age, okay, and they're tapped in, all right, on the left-hand side to pure wickedness, man. Okay, and that's why society, is able, to be, played, okay, with murder, rape, XEX trafficking, all right, drugs, all right, these things are allowed, okay, because this is a very wicked system, okay, that's running the earth, Okay, so what I want to do, oh, Salaki, I want to go here dealing with this account, dealing with Yahweh Shai. Hold on. Okay, so you go, into this account dealing with Yahweh Shai, all right, and to prove the people that run this world, okay, are Satanists, all right, the people that you're voting for, okay, the people that you admire, this entertainment system, okay, the movies, the music, okay, this culture, okay, America, everything that you, all right, admire in this society is rooted in Satanism, Christianity, okay, rooted in Satanism, okay, when you get into it, okay. So let's just prove that this world is ruled by Satanists, man, okay. These Edomites, all right, they are the representatives of Satan in the earth, okay. Because when you go to Luke 4 and 1, it says, "And Yahushua being full of the Holy Spirit returned from Jordan and was led by the Spirit into the wilderness." Okay. It says, being 40 days tempted of the devil. And in those days, all right, he did eat nothing. And when they were ended, he afterward hungered. All right. So he was fasting, 40 days. And it says, and the devil said unto him, if thou be the son of the most high, command this stone, all right, that it be made bread. And Yahushua answered him, saying, it is written that man shall not live by bread alone, but by every word of the most high. And the devil take him up into a high mountain, showed unto him all the kingdoms of the world in a moment of time. Okay, so now he's showing Yahushua all the kingdoms of the world and all the kingdoms to come. Okay, so he's showing them this all at once, you know, all the kingdoms of that age and all the kingdoms to come. Okay, leading to this time. And he says, and the devil said unto him, all this power will I give thee, and the glory of them, for that it is delivered unto me, and whomsoever I will give it, because the Lord has appointed Satan a time to have dominion in the world. Okay, so all these kingdoms that came into power, they, all right, will have to reverence Satan. Because all idolatry is a form of Satanism. And see, with Esau, he just tapped into it more than any other. Okay, he's tapped into Satanism more than any other heathen. Okay, when you go into after the flood, it was Ham, all right, that jumped off Satanism, okay, in the earth, all right, and Esau, all right, he would tap into that. Okay, so what we have to understand, all right, that Satan was given a period to have dominion over the earth. Okay, and Esau, when he came back into power, he tapped heavy into Satanism. Okay, on another level, you see, than any other kingdom. And when you read verse 6, it says, and the devil said unto him, all the power will I give thee, all this power will I give thee, and glory of them, for this is delivered unto me, to whomsoever I will give it. If thou, okay, if thou therefore will worship me, all shall be thine. Okay? So he's tempting Yahweh Shai to worship him, okay, with these kingdoms, with these rulerships. Okay, and remember, these are all temporal rulerships. Okay, but Esau, he did this. He worshiped Satan. He bent the knee with no problem. Okay, and he's been given this rulership. All right, and it says, and Yahweh Shai answered and said unto him, get thee behind me, Satan, for it is written, thou shalt worship the Lord thy power, and him alone shalt thou serve. And Yahweh Shai understood, he had an eternal kingdom coming directly from the Father. Okay, he didn't need to bow and worship Satan for a temporal kingdom of wickedness. Okay, And see, in times past, okay, uh, Adam, he fell for this. King Solomon, he fell for this. You see, and Adam, he fell, all right, to the serpent. Okay, King Solomon, he fell to idolatry. Okay, which is nothing but Satanism. You see, but Yahweh Shai didn't. Okay, he overcame this time. Lord, will we overcome this satanic system? Okay, so you go here to the book of Judges. Go to the book of Judges, chapter 9. In verse 24. I mean, Job 9:24. So you go to Job 9:24. Okay. This book of Job, chapter 9, verse 24 said the earth is given into the hand of the wicked. Okay, so the earth has been given to the hand of the wicked. You see, in order for him to have the earth, he would have to what? Bow down to Satan. All right, it was Esau didn't mind at all. It said he covered the faces of the judges thereof. If not, where and who is he? Okay, so sign of who the wicked was. Well, who covered up the faces of the true judges? Because the true judges are Israelites. Beginning with the Most High, which uh he covers up the Most High as an Edomite, and Yahushua as an Edomite. Okay, the great men of the Bible, the apostles, King David, he pushes them as what? Edomites. Okay, so he covered the face of the judges thereof with his image. If not, where and who is he? So that's a clear indicator of who the wicked is that the earth was given to, which is Esau. All right, and he rules, okay, in the spirit of Satan, man. Okay, completely wicked, pure wickedness that runs the earth, man. Okay, because you go here, when you go to Revelation 20, all right, this is Revelation 20 and 7, okay, and this is when Esau was given the earth. It says that when the 1,000 years are expired, and that's what they call the Dark Ages, okay, when Jake was ruling in Europe, okay, Russia, okay, the czars, they was Jake, okay, the Byzantine Empire, Constantinople, that era, okay, it was Jake. Esau called them Dark Ages and mockery. All right, but and Jake wasn't, right, okay, but Jake, you know, uh, they had way more, structure and honor, okay, and they was way more civilized than Esau, okay, within rulership. Jake had, the nigga Constantine, he was a con man, you know, but you did have, structure, you had inventions, you had a lot going on during that time. Okay. There wasn't a fulfillment, was being in power. Okay. It was just a season. Okay. Or Jake, having authority. Okay. So after that 1,000 years were expired, it says Satan shall be loosed out of his prison. You see that? And it's speaking of Esau. Okay. It calls him Satan. It calls Esau Satan himself, man. Showing you how linked in that Esau is to Satan, man. You can call this nigga Satan, So Satan has been loosed out of his prison. Okay, so we're under the authority of a very satanic rulership, man, under Esau Edom. Okay, which Satan, all right, Shaitan goes to adversary. Okay, and this man is adverse to all righteousness, man. Okay, and that's why his kingdom is pro-wicked and anti-righteous. Okay, when he speaks about liberty, you have the liberty to be as wicked as you want. Okay. So I want to get this. It's this video I seen on TikTok. All right, this former FBI agent. He's gonna go into the Satanism. That he's privy to. Okay. So I want to get this. And then we'll tap into some more. Dealing with the scriptures. But let's play this. Okay. Jump down. All right, so he's gonna go in, and he's gonna, expose some things, things brothers been saying, but this is, all right, the wickedness in high places. This is what these devils are on. Okay, so let's play this.
What's going on with these satanic cults?
Well, many of these people are multi-generational, meaning they were born into it. And once they're born into it, they have secret meetings, of course, and they worship Satan. They have human sacrifices, and they even sacrifice their own sometimes. They have what they call breeders. These are women who are especially impregnated so they can use the children or the fetus that are born for their human sacrifices. And based on my research, there's about 4 million plus practicing Satanists in America today. About 1.5% of the population. I derived that figure from a confidential source area of Los Angeles where there's about 200,000 people. And I was told by an informant that there's about 3,000 in that area. Lincoln, Nebraska, about 200,000. I was told about 3,000 there by second source. Third source, Iowa City, Iowa, 100,000 population. I was told there's about 1,500 there. So if you project that figure, you're looking at 1.5% of the population of the United States. And they are involved. And according to another 3 different sources also, there's 50 to 60,000 human sacrifices per year in this country.
Okay, but the question that people will tell you is, where do these human beings come from? Because obviously,
well,
they have to be accounted
first of all, they've infiltrated law enforcement. They've infiltrated prosecutors' offices. They've infiltrated the judicial system. They've infiltrated across the board in basic elements. They've infiltrated virtually every level of our society. So what happens is, first of all, they have their secret meetings. They oftentimes they're in underground. They have underground compartments in their home, chambers in their home, and it's all private. Nobody knows about it. And and then they dispose of the bodies through different means. They're experts at covering up their tracks. I've heard of them even putting them in vats with acid in them.
So now, when we hear about like thousands of missing children going missing in this country every year, where do they go?
First of all, the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children, which is an adjunct of the U.S. Department of Justice, and if you go to their website, the last time I checked it, they said there are 91 Americans disappear every hour in this country. It is estimated 85-90% are children. If you project that figure, talking about several 100,000 children a year disappear in America. And these children are being kidnapped off the streets. And I have documentation that an organization known as the Finders out of Washington, D.C., has, since the early 1960s, been actively involved in kidnapping children off the street. Okay. Now, unfortunately, as a result of some of my research, I learned through a U.S. Customs Treasury Department report that the Finders is a CIA covert operation.
So why do they want these kids? What do they do?
The kids are auctioned off. I talked to one of my sources told me he's attended 6 auctions where kids were being auctioned off. He was part of the network, and there were as few as 6 and as many as 36 children that were auctioned off. They were each auctioned off for up to $50,000 each. The children are ages 2 to 21, boys and girls. They put a label, a number around their neck, tie a string around their neck and put a card with a number on it. They bid, they put them up on a stage, they bid on the number. The kids come out, they put them in an airplane. There's one base a small field about 50 miles out of Las Vegas, Nevada, which is where some of the auctions are taking place. Put them on an airplane, kids leave, they disappear. Then the kids are all doped up, of course. They put them in campers. The kids are, once they're in the camper, they dope them up, they're sleeping. The police stop them, they say, my kid's asleep, leave them alone, and all that sort of thing. And they use these kids for sex slaves. They use them for body parts, and they use them for their sacrifices.
What's going on with the
Yeah, man. You know, and that's still the tip of the iceberg. All going on. You know, only the Lord knows. Okay, the extent of the wickedness of the devil, but more and more is constantly coming to the surface, man. Okay, so you gotta understand, these devils, they have a system of Satanism, man. Children are being kidnapped, like he said, used for XEX trafficking. Okay, sacrifices. Okay, organs. Okay, this is a Babylonian church, man. You know, especially in America, man. All right, it's just one big Babylonian temple. Okay, that's why it's known as Babylon the Great. Okay, now let's go back here. Okay, let's get some precepts. So let's go back to let's go here and get this in Mark first, and then show you, all right, that this devil, he's tapped into the ancient, okay, wicked priesthood of them Canaanites and them Hamites, man. Okay, so you go to the book of Mark, chapter 4, okay, and 22. All right, this is the book of Mark, chapter 4, verse 22, and it says, "For there is nothing hid which shall not be manifested, neither was anything kept secret, but that it should come abroad." Okay, so everything is coming to the light. The scripture saying, "Then shall that wicked be revealed." Okay, and this is what these people are into. And you think they care about some children starving on food stamps? That's like a big sacrifice to them. When they allow, when they do these, when they go to war, you know, like these small hats, how they just destroy, and unalive civilians with no remorse. That's like a sacrifice to Satan to them. Okay, the men, women, and children, that they're unaliving. Okay, genocide. These things are a sacrifice to Satan to him. Okay, you think he care about, all right, little nigga baby starving, or even little Edomite babies? He don't care. You low tier Edomites, he look at you as goyim too. Okay, you other nations, he doesn't care. All right, if you starve, if you're homeless, he doesn't care. All right, this man is purely the wicked. Okay, and he's going to continue to show himself more and more. Okay, so let's go from there. All right, because you have to understand this man Esau. Okay, the scripture say his vine is the vine of Sodom. Okay, you go to Deuteronomy 32 and 32. Okay, this is Deuteronomy 32 and 32. Yes, said, "For their vine is the vine of Sodom." Okay, and the fields, all right, and the fields of Gomorrah, their grapes are the grapes of gall, their clusters are bitter. Okay, so Esau comes, from their vine of Sodom. Okay, we're gonna link the two. All right, going back to Esau and these Canaanites, and okay, the wickedness of Canaan. All right, so Esau is cut from their cloth of Canaan. All right, these Hamites. Okay, with Sodom and Gomorrah, those were Canaanites. All right, they lewd, because they was into their sexual magic. Okay, they was into that. And Esau, he tapped into that. Okay, so before the flood, we know that the serpent, he was into witchcraft. All right, which that's the spirit of Esau, the serpent, coming back. Okay, but after the flood, it was the Hamites who picked up the baton of Satanism. All All right. And Esau went and got it back. You know, he's been running with it ever since. Okay. He said they're grapes, they're doctrine. All right. And what do you get wine from? Grapes. Okay, their clusters are bitter. Their wine is the poison of dragons. All right, they're dragon. All right, which Rome represents the peak of Esau's power. Okay, and Rome was heavy into Satanism. So this man has revived. All right, Greco-Roman philosophy back in the earth. Okay, and Satanism was a part of it. The whole Enlightenment era, that was all Satanism. Okay, it says in the cruel venom of ash, man. This man's rulership is cruelty. His doctrine is cruelty. Satanism is cruelty, man. Okay, it thrives off torture and distress and oppression. Whether it's a physical torture, mental torture. This is what Satanism, is driven off of, man. It's a cruel rulership. Okay, but he has showered people down with gifts and convenience and handouts and government subsidies and these particular things. The fake money system. Okay, and people now, as the money is drying up, people are really starting to see how cruel this man is. But this is what he been on. Okay, and that's why even when you go here, these different acts. Okay, you go into the Bible. Let's go into Wisdom of Solomon, chapter 12 and verse 2. All right, and this is GNT. It says, and so you gently correct those who sin against you. You remind them of what they are doing and warn them about it so that they may abandon their evil ways and put their trust in you, Lord. You hated the people who lived in the Holy Land long ago, which were Canaanites. Okay, that's why it was known as the land of Canaan. Before we inhabited it. Okay, then it became known as Israel, but it was known as the land of Canaan. Okay, so those people that was in the Holy Land, all right, those Canaanites, because they did horrible things. They practiced magic and conducted, all right, holy worship. They killed children without mercy and ate the flesh of the blood of human beings. They were initiated into secret rituals, man. So this is what these Canaanites was into. All right, and Esau, okay, he has picked up the baton in his rulership, and he's revamped. All right, these Canaanite, sex magic, dark rituals. Okay, drinking of the Red Bull. Okay, if you can, and they drink Red Bull from humans, and all type of madness, man. Okay, in which parents murdered their own defenseless children. It was your will for our ancestors to destroy these people. Okay, and this society is set up where children are defenseless. That's why he pushed what he pushed, man, for the woman to be all into herself, and and people just to be self-absorbed and narcissistic and single parent. Because a bunch of single parents, the children are vulnerable, man. When there's no network, no community, children are vulnerable. Okay, so these women thought that women's liberations, and and the women thought that Esau was just for them. No, he wanted to create a vulnerable society, man. Okay, so now you have a society where it's easy to just take away hundreds of thousands of children a year for these secret rituals and torture and sacrifice and XEX trafficking, man. Okay, but them Canaanites was on this, man. And you go into, okay, the scriptures, go back to Genesis. Okay, you go back to Genesis dealing with, All right, and all these Hamites was into the dark magic, Mizraim, okay, which were the Egyptians. Okay, but Canaan, he was just the most freaky of them. Okay, he mixed some real freakiness with his, you know, his dark magic, man. Okay, so going down, all right, Genesis 10 and 15, it says, in Canaan, all right, was the son of Ham, begot Zidon, his firstborn, in health, and the Jebusite and the Amorites and the Girgasites and the Hivites, all right, and the Archites and the Sinite, all right, and the Avidite, okay, and the Zamorite and the Hamathite, and afterward were the families of Canaan spread abroad, and the borders of the Canaanite was from Zidon as thou comest to Gerar, unto Gaza as thou goest unto Sodom and Gomorrah and Admah and Zebulun and even Lasha. All right, and these are the 5 cities that were destroyed, okay, during the time of Abraham and Lot. Sodom and Gomorrah and these 3 other cities, Admah, Zaban, and Lasha, which were Canaanite cities. Okay, and we know the story was into. Okay, and this is why, all right, get some understanding. In Genesis, okay, Isaac and Rebekah told, all right, Jacob what? It says, Isaac called Jacob and blessed him and charged him, and he said unto him, thou shalt not take a wife of the daughters of Canaan. Okay, because the Canaanites was dark. Okay, there was a dark people, you know. So Jacob, you know, Isaac is telling Jacob, look, do not deal with the daughters of Canaan. Okay, and you can like that to American women today, man. You know, the goddamn daughters of Canaan. You see, dark, enchanted. You know, you know, Isaac was like, nah, don't deal with them. Okay, they were singled out, show you how bad they were. You know, the reputation they had back then. Okay, it says, arise, go to Pan the Naram, all right, to the house of Bethuel, thy mother's father, and take thee a wife from thence of the daughters of Laban, all right, thy mother's brother. And the Most High Almighty bless thee and make thee fruitful and multiply thee, that thou mayest be a multitude. You know, so he was like, look, go get women that was groomed up in our customs. Okay, with structure and order. Do not deal with them Canaanites, man. You know, and like I said, you can liken that to most American women, man, especially of the tribes. You see, and they're likening it to the daughters of Canaan, man, dark, okay, you know, wicked into all type of madness, nigga culture, alphabet culture, just all type of things that, you know, they're like the daughters of Canaan, you know, majority. All right. And we all came up in darkness and we had to repent. You see, so what we were, all right, you know, through the blood of Yahweh, we were cleansed from that. Okay. But our people that's still in it, you know, they're like Canaanites, man. You see, that's what America breeds, and Canaanite energy, man. So going going from there, all right. Now Jacob is told not to deal with the Canaanites. All right, well you go here. All right, and what does Unc do? All right, Genesis 35:1. The Most High said unto Jacob, arise, go up to Bethel, and dwell there, and make there an altar unto the Most High. All right, that appeared unto thee with no, it's like 30, yeah, 36. Okay, 36. All right, Genesis 36:1. It says, now these are the generation of Esau, who is Edom. Esau took his wives of the daughters of Canaan. All right. Ada, daughter of Elon the Hittite, and uh, uh, Aholibamah, the daughter of Anah, the daughter of Zebulun the Hivite. So Esau went and got two Canaanite wives. Okay, so he had some Ishmaelite, okay, wives and some Canaanite wives. Okay, so Esau, hey, when he linked with Canaan, all right, it was back in popping. Satanism, because he had just left from what the sons of God being under Isaac. Okay, so he left the sons of God and linked with who? The Canaanites. Okay, and they turned that boy up, man. All right, his pure mind was stirred up. You see, like I'm Satan's son. You know, you see that? And just real quick, I just thought this was interesting. Now, Adah was one of his Canaanite wives, bare Esau. All right, Eliphaz. Now, of Eliphaz, okay, when you go down of Eliphaz, now the sons of Eliphaz were Teman, which you go into those Germans, which are like the engineers, the think tank. All right, the men of wisdom. Okay, well, remember his mother is a Canaanite, you know. So this is a grandson of Esau, Teman. Now, when you jump down, Eliphaz, which was Teman's father, dealt with a concubine. And who did she bear? And she bear to Eliphaz Amalek. Okay, so Amalek and Teman, had the same father. When you look at, this society, okay, in the forefront of Esau's empire is Amalek and Teman. Okay, and Teman was, just the son of a concubine, so he really wasn't supposed to get an inheritance. But this nigga done stole the blessing to himself. And he's tapped into all that dark Canaanite, okay, rituals, man. You see? So this devil, all right, what we seeing today is a highly satanic, okay, kingdom, man. All right, this is nothing light that the devil has going on. Okay, it's way bigger than, you see, the civil rights movement. Okay, redlining it. Okay, systemic racism is way deeper than that. What these devils are on. Okay, and I want to go here. Just to link also. So, mm, let's go here to so I look some up in the chat. Here you go. All right. All right. So I asked, could the technocrats of today, be compared to the Chaldeans of Babylon, all right, or the Egyptian priesthood? Okay. And said, well, that's a fascinating and quite perceptive, all right, comparison. It says, yes, there are meaningful parallels that can be drawn, all right, between today's technocrat elites and the Chaldeans of Babylon or the Egyptian priesthood, all right, though with some important differences. So let's go into it. It says knowledge is power. Okay, it says knowledge is power. It says both ancient priestly and Chaldean classes and modern technocrats base their authority on specialized knowledge that most people do not have. All right, and that's why they keep these things confined within these certain families. Okay, these technocrats we see today, the Jeff Bezos and Elon Musk and These guys at the forefront, these billionaire tech guys, these all come from particular families. Donald Trump, he comes from particular family. Okay, these are bloodlines that back, go way back. That's at the forefront of society. And they operate in what these dark magic. That's why they call themselves the illuminated ones, Illuminati. All right, because they have this secret, dark, all right, magic, wisdom, man. And a lot of it stems from, all right, these ancient empires, mainly those of Ham, because America is what likened as a spiritual Egypt and Sodom, okay, which is Mizraim and Canaan, okay, Babylon the Great, which goes back to Cush, okay, ancient Babylon. Then you had the Neo-Babylonian Empire, which are the Syrians, okay, and then you go into Nimrod, his empire, was a symbol of rebellion, okay, and idolatry, and the Neo-Babylonian was into, okay, the dark magic. You see, astrology. You see, so when you go into it, it says Chaldeans, Babylonian Magi were the astronomers, astrologers, and magicians of their age. They could read the heavens, interpret omens, and advise rulers. Okay, so who do you see advising? Okay, your president, technocrats, man. Okay, Elon Musk. He's just able to come in the White House and wreck shop. Okay, there's nothing but the modern day Chaldeans, and these are the lower Chaldeans, the ones we see. Okay, the upper Chaldeans, we don't see them. Okay, it says they could read the heavens, interpret omens, and advise rulers. Their grasp of cosmic or mathematical system gave them cultural power. Egyptian priests were custodians of sacred knowledge, medicine, and engineering, calendar making, irrigation, temple construction. It says their mastery of writing and ritual made them indispensable. Modern technocrats, experts in computer science, data analysis, all right, analytics, financial models that govern modern life. Their expertise lets them advise and directly manage institutions, often with the aura of objective authority, man. Okay? So what really runs society is left hand magic. Okay, and all these empires of old, especially these Hermetic, all right, empires. You see, they was founded on dark magic, man, and ran by dark magic. And we say these things, and here it is. I say, as you got a nigga that's hung up on marriageable age when this is going on. All right, he said they XCS traffic children from the age of 2 to 21. And we're talking about marriage was structured, families was coming together, and people were being set up in inheritance, and setting up the next generation to win. This nigga is trafficking and torturing, you see, but you don't see an influx of niggas speaking about that. Okay, he said each class mediates between the visible world and the hidden realm, all right, of order, okay, or casualty. The ancient priesthood mediated between humanity and the divine cosmos. The Chaldeans interpreted signs from the stars to predict human, okay, and political fate. Today's technocrats interpret signals from data, okay, that's why they just data is the new gold, okay, because they get defeated into what? Their technology, man. You see? It said the digital cosmos to predict economics and social outcomes. Both claim, all right, the ability to make sense of forces beyond ordinary perception. Because ordinary people don't understand how, the economy works and how, these systems of government work, man. Okay? You only have a few, and they make it intentionally confusing, so it can't be, interpreted, man. You see? It said kings in Babylon and pharaohs in Egypt relied heavily on these specialists, not necessarily out of devotion, but because governance depended on them. Okay, and that's why you see everything is being more AI dependent. Okay, everything is going towards AI now. That's the new thing. Okay, and this is, the technocrats foundation for technocracy, man. Okay, it's people needing their expertise to operate. Okay, and that's why he's been pushing for years for people to be dependent on his grid, on him. Okay, so now you're subjugated to what the AI says about this and that, and you know, carbon footprint, and global warming, how much should you eat and how much, you know, what the population should be for the earth to run. You're subjugated to that now. Okay, based on the data. Okay, it says similarly, modern political and corporate leaders rely on technocrats, economists, scientists, engineers, data scientists for administration and control. This creates an elite priesthood of expertise that can both serve and dominate power structures, man. And right now we're seeing them dominate power structures. Okay, what they're doing is serving themselves. Okay, and dominating these power structures. Okay, but it's all rooted in left hand Satanism, man. Okay, so that's why you go here. Let's get it. And we'll end it here on Isaiah 47. All right, this is Isaiah. All right. I started 47 and 8. It said, therefore, hear now this that are given unto pleasures that dwelleth carelessly, that says in thy heart, I am. And the devil, like I say, he's tapped in on the left hand side. So his mind, he thinks that he's on the equal playing field with the Most High. Okay, and that's why he's emboldened, to think that he is the Most High, that he can handle, the responsibility of the Most High. He can sit in the seat of the Most High. Okay, and none else beside me. Okay, so the leaders of, Babylon, which are the elites, the kings, the overlords of Babylon, because they put up puppet kings, these presidents. Okay, but the overlords, of Babylon, these Chaldeans, these elites, this is how they feel, and they create a careless society. They think that they're okay in an okay state. See, that's why people so out of tune with the judgment that's to come. Because they have been enchanted to be careless, man, and think that, hey, they're in a good case. It says, I shall not sit as a widow, neither shall I know the loss of children, but these two things shall come to thee in a moment, in one day, the loss of children and widowhood, they shall come upon thee in their perfection, okay, for the multitude of thine sorceries and the great abundance of thine enchantments, man. Okay, so this is a society, that has been able to thrive off sorcery and enchantments. Okay, but they're able to push to you a God-fearing, Christian. That's why you have this Christian nationalist movement. Listen, man, this place is based on enchantments and witchcraft, sorcery. Okay, the Bible is just a decoy. Okay, to disarm people of what they're really about. Okay, to divert people from what they really on. Okay, but in a moment, the Lord's going to destroy this place, man. Okay, and make it a desert. You see, it says, "For thou hast trusted in thy wickedness, thou hast said, none seeth me." For the longest, they've been able to operate in the shadows, man. Okay, they've been able to just corrupt, governments, and turn governments into their puppets, and gradually, okay, interject, okay, wickedness and Satanism and enchantments to mainly the media. All right, music, news, and television, music. Okay, and it says, "Thy wisdom and thy knowledge have perverted thee, and thou hast said in thy heart, I am, and none else beside me." Yeah, because he's been able to achieve a certain level, through this left hand wisdom and knowledge. He's been able to win. He's been able, like I say, technology and military and this corrupt money system, and he's just been able to win. Things were in his favor. Okay, well, just like Elder Required Quorum always says, these things work until they don't. Okay, Isaiah 47:11. "Therefore shall evil come upon thee, thou shalt not know from whence it rises." Okay, showing you that this devil is not all knowing. Okay, he tries to play that that he's the most high. Okay, but there's he has a lot of blind spots. Okay, and Heavenly Father got things planned for this devil. Okay, that he's not gonna be able to shake. You see, so evil is your bad times. Okay, thou shalt not know from whence it riseth, and mischief shall fall upon thee. Thou shalt not be able to put it off, and desolation shall come upon thee suddenly, which thou shalt not know. Okay, so the Lord got a cake baked for this devil, man. Okay, and he's not gonna have the ups. He used to being, 10, 20 steps ahead of everyone, generations ahead of everyone. Okay, but the Lord finna embarrass this man, and he's not gonna be able to do anything to reverse it. It says, "Stand now with thine enchantments and with the multitude of thy sorceries, wherein thou hast labored from thy youth. If so be, all right, thou shalt be able to profit. If so be, thou mayest be able to prevail." So the Lord is mocking him, man. Stand with your enchantments. Stand with your sorcery. Do what you've been doing. Do what got you here. Use what got you here. Tap into that. Okay? And that's the Lord mocking this devil. It said, "Thou art weary in the multitude of thy counsels. Let now the astrologers and stargazers and monthly prognosticators stand up and save thee from these things that shall come up on thee." Okay? So we're coming to the time where witchcraft is not going to work. That left hand, he's not even going to be able to tap into it. So the Lord is going to draw it back from the devil. Okay? And he's going to be naked out here. All right? And the Lord going to deal. You see? And the Lord going to break this man down to nothing. Okay? He's going to embarrass him on the world stage. Okay? He said, "Behold, all right, they shall be as stubble. The fire shall burn them, and they shall not deliver themselves from the power of the flame. there shall not be a coal to warm it, nor a fire to sit before. Thus shall they be unto thee with whom thou hast labored, even thy merchants from thy youth. They shall wander every one to his quarter. None shall save thee, man. So it's over. Okay, all this witchcraft and all this, dark magic, you was able to win with for a season. It's over. Okay, the Lord letting you run your system, run your course. Okay, He's letting you attempt your new world order, and then He's just finna eradicate you, man. Show you that all that was for naught. All right, and you still not close. Okay, so that was the point. Lord will you brothers and you sisters edify once again. I want to give all praise and glory unto Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shah, Bahashem, Rakakadash, and double honors unto the apostles and the elders of GMS who rule well, teach well, being great example towards younger brothers. And peace and blessings, salutations to the whole flex. Shalom.